Happy Friday, y'all. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trae Holiday, and it is a great Friday. You know what I'm saying? We are moving and grooving out here, man. Still at the Liberty Bank building. You guys know I got to throw it over here to my guy, Big O. What up, Big O? Happy Friday.
That was a quick handoff, my friend. I mean, like, quick. I know it's Friday, but jeez.
We got a lot to get to today.
Yeah, we got a lot. We have a lot to get to in a limited amount of time today. And actually, you know, I always just like to keep it real with people. You know, we're off to a late start. When I was over in Tanzania, though, they used to say, better late in this world than early for the next. So
I love that.
Late start today. And actually, we were gonna do our broadcast from Rooted Restaurant, which is right across the street. And our directors and producers didn't feel that there was enough space, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, everything that we do here, we want to be able to try to set some kind of good example for our viewers. And so we had to pack up. Big shout out to Daryl and to Bobby Stills. They had everything set, and then they broke it down. They came over here to the Liberty Bank building. Thank you to the Liberty Bank building, and we set up again. So, you know, nimble. We're nimble. We're on our feet over here. Yeah. You know, we didn't want to just call it a wrap. We know it's a lot of people look forward to the morning update show, and also look forward to people turning off their ringers on the set. But so it's a good thing. After all, we're back here in the heart of it all on 24th and Union at the Liberty Bank building. It's been such great energy in the CD the whole week, but especially.
Absolutely, man, and I'm glad that we are always able to find ways. Again, I think it's just a part of being connected to community, man. Hey, man. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? We're like, look, if something don't work out, let's make it work over here. So shout out to Joa, shout out to Mike, making sure that we can get up in here quickly and make a smooth transition. And we will be actually having Imani, the owner of Rooted. She will be on the show soon. We'll make that happen because she had a whole spread for us today.
So there was a whole spread over there, Rooted, and then. So they're like, man, well, we need to move. So we move over to LBB, and she gave the staff some beef patties, and I thought that the beef patties might at least make it on air, but the production crew felt a bit they felt a bit differently about it. So
very good for you.
We're gonna jump right into it. Like I said, we got a short amount of time today. You ready over there, Daryl? Oh, see, it only comes.
He's ready.
All right, first thing, this is big news. This is actually going on right now downtown. We got an email this morning from the Office of the Mayor, a media advisory from the Mayor's office. They should be having this press conference right now. We'll see what the outcome of it. But basically, it says city county officials to discuss preparations for likely unhealthy air quality caused by wildfires. Do you have that up, Daryl? Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't see it there. And so basically, it's pulling out all the big dogs today. So Mayor Durkin, King County Executive Dow Constantine, King County Health Officer Dr. Jeff Duchin, Seattle Fire Department Chief Scoggins, Human Services Director Jay Johnson, and King County Department of Community Health Services Director Leo Fleur. Basically what they're saying is recent forecasts show shifting wind patterns that could cause some of the dense smoke produced by wildfires in Oregon and California to move into western Washington over the next several days, potentially causing unhealthy to hazardous air quality in the Puget Sound region. So we've been reporting on this the whole week. And it looks like the smoke is getting worse. Yeah. We early in the week the smoke was out, and we were kind of like, well, you know what, it might blow out, and it did blow out. But in blowing that out, more smoke is actually blowing back in. I think most people, as soon as you walk out your door today or look out a window, you can see the very thick smoke that is out there. Yeah. And the advisory is going on right now down the city of Seattle, and whatever outtakes come of that as far as what they're saying best practices, we're definitely going to pass that on to you throughout the day via our social media platforms. First and foremost, and most importantly, we want people to take care of themselves and take this smoke situation seriously.
Absolutely. I think that you're right to indicate as soon as people go outside of their doors today or look out the window, they will see a drastic difference from what we've been seeing throughout the week. And it does look like it's going to be best for people to try to be inside if possible. I mean, so much is in those particles that get in your lungs. They have long-lasting effects. So it's definitely best for folks to try to be inside and be indoors indoors if possible.
Right, and we talked about earlier this week how the smoke can exacerbate the situation with COVID as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who aren't in the mask. Hey, man, we're going to wear a mask around the smoke. And be honest with you as well, the same kind of face covering that you might be using to be COVID compliant won't necessarily protect you against some of the particles that are out there right now. So, I mean, the best thing you can do is stay indoors, and then some people, depending upon their air conditioning system, you know, whether it's filtering in or not, and everything else. So we want to be diligent, and as usual, let's look out for our friends and neighbors, especially the ones that we know might have a compromised respiratory system or suffering from asthma or something like that.
Absolutely, and check in on the elders too. You know, make sure they're good. We know that, you know, they're, like you said, it could exacerbate other things with the respiratory system. So make sure we're doing those check-ins.
Yep, and today, 19 years ago, 9/11.
9/11, 19
You remember
years.
what you were doing 19 years ago?
Absolutely. I was on Howard's campus when 9/11 happened, and I was in D.C. We were just shocked. You know, clearly there was such a rippling effect on the East Coast, and wanting to make sure people were good and everybody was okay was such at the forefront of so many of our minds. So.
Yeah, I remember 19 years ago, I was right here in the Central District. OMARI, my son, let's see, July, August, summer. He was 3 months old, and you know, I was stay-at-home dad because OMARI's mom, Tasha, she was a flight attendant for American Airlines based out of Boston. And so now, if you remember that day, 9/11, it was the aircraft coming out of one of the aircrafts came out of Boston, American Airlines. Yeah. And so, man, I remember just sitting here and watching that and trying to figure out where Tasha was. And I mean, she ended up being on a flight that ended up grounding somewhere in the Midwest, and she made it back here to Seattle a few days later. But yeah, it was such an experience, and 19 years later, it's hard to believe it's been that long.
Yeah, I know. When you just said it, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, 19 years. Like, how old am I? I was 19, you know, at the time. And so that's kind of a half-life, honestly, for me and where I am right now. And even just remembering being, you know, I was at Howard, and we were in brand new dorms. And I remember it being like, oh, we're the first ones in these dorms. So we had all the, you know, the best, like, you know, safety measures. We had AC in the rooms. But literally, we were also protected because of that, because there was specific safety measures with regards to earthquakes, any kind of issues. So there were certain things that I was like, wow, I'm thankful to be in this hit. Yeah, DC got hit. Yeah, hard. And a lot of my family was concerned for me just being over there. So again, shout out to everybody who, you know, had to deal with that day. It was all of us. It affected every American life.
Yeah, and the ensuing events really changed global political situation.
Absolutely.
After that. Bringing it back here to local. So we showed you earlier in the week at the SPOG, the march, the Labor Day March, the SPOG. David Opez, he is a journalist with Malcontentment Tango. And he was out there at SPOG. He's the poll guy for people who follow these protests and the streaming. He's the one who has the camera on the pole. And while streaming out there, he dropped his credentials. And then Mike Solon, the president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild, or SPOG, that's what we say, Mike Solon put out a tweet with a photo of the credential and, you know, some interesting text around it. Anyways, Como 4 followed up on this, and they talked to Solon, and they talked to David from Malcontentment. I wanted to play this segment right here from Como, and we'll follow it up.
Getting personal and even more public. The Seattle Police Union president is under investigation because of a social media post. The post involved an independent journalist who was covering protests. Como's Jonathan Cho is live in Seattle with the exclusive story tonight. Jonathan?
Eric, the Office of Police Accountability says numerous complaints are now starting to come in about Union President Mike Solon's tweet. The independent journalist says the tweet's unprofessional and put his life in danger.
wear a helmet.
David Obelts tries to anticipate every scenario.
The camera doesn't lie.
But he never saw this one coming.
Mike Solon puts up a pretty snarky tweet with the full picture of my press pass.
Accompanied by a comment that reads in part, "Unfortunately, in your hasty escape from SPOG a few minutes ago, you dropped your press pass. Since I have it, does this mean I'm now part of the resistance?"
That's doxing.
Doxing is essentially putting someone's personal information online for everyone to see.
At the end of the day, that put my family in danger.
There's no doxing here at all.
Mike Solon's the president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild.
That's his press pass he wore on the outside of his garment.
On Monday, this surveillance video shows Obelts accidentally dropping his badge near Guild headquarters during another violent clash between protesters and police.
I did him a favor by picking it up.
However, complaints about the tweet are pouring in. The Office of Police Accountability looks into allegations of police misconduct and is now investigating. The agency says other SPOG presidents in the past have faced complaints, but ones against top officials are rare.
This is poll cam.
Obelts is known for holding a giant selfie stick in the crowd, live streaming numerous marches, including one to Solon's house last month in the middle of the night,
where I have my family inside. What about my security?
That one in particular enraged Solon.
For him to claim to be the victim, I think it just strikes of irony here.
But Obelts says he has every right to simply broadcast what's going on and believes he's being unfairly lumped in with all the protesters, even though he's an independent journalist.
I've had to work very, very hard to work and to be able to embed into these different groups.
Solon is doubling down and says he's not removing the tweet.
Mike, do you feel like you're taking this a bit too personally?
I think he is. The fact that you're having an interview with me about him claiming to be a victim is absolutely comical.
Now, Solon says he's not concerned about the complaints or the ongoing OPA investigations. In fact, he says he's invited Obelts back here to Guild headquarters to pick up that press ID. So far, no response. Live from Seattle, Jonathan Cho, Como News.
All right, so Mike Solon is taking a lot of heat over this tweet, and it's a lot of people that have reported down to OPA, and yeah, it's a lot of even media people who are like, because so the thing is in that tweet right there, Mike Solon clearly identifies this person as a member of press. He says, yes, here's your hashtag press credential, you know, not like here's your barista work employee ID. He said, here is your press credential. And it seems it's like, you know, as the president of this this large and very powerful organization as SPOG is, man, it seems it's gotten real petty right here. And, you know, David malcontentment, I mean, clearly he has his political leanings or whatever, like most people do, but he's been out there and he's been covering, like a lot of people have been covering. And really the city and even beyond the city has benefited from people like him who continue to go out there, you know, on the front and clearly very dangerous types of situations to be able to stream. And man, my take on this is that, you know, the chief of police is appointed by the mayor, right? So the chief, the rank and file of SPD don't really have much say on the chief of police. They'll probably interview with people from SPOG, but then the mayor appoints the chief, and the chief is confirmed by the city council. So it would be difficult for someone to say that the mayor or that the chief of police represents the thoughts and ideas of the rank and file, because the rank and file really don't have much to do with the appointment of the chief of police. However, the rank and file vote for the union president, for the SPOG president. So, I mean, if Mike Solon, if this is his actions, it's easy for people to think, was this how the majority of the Seattle Police Department officers rank and file feel? Because this is their president that they voted for.
Absolutely, and it's so worth noting because people don't understand the inner workings of what you just described. So to lay it out for everybody and understand, first of all, that the chief of police and who is underneath them is not the same as the SPOG president. I think this is something to highlight, and honestly, this is why we talked about Mike Solon taking such a personal approach, very emotional approach to this, because literally he's the one that's representing the the police force.
At least 51%. I think the number was much higher. People who voted for Solon over Stuckey. This is the person that they voted for to represent them and their corporate culture and some of everything else.
Absolutely.
So that being the case, when Mike Solon reacts like this on Twitter to the majority of officers at SPD feel the exact same way as Mike Solon. Right. See, it's much different when the chief does something, because the average officer can say like, hey man, you know, we didn't vote for this chief.
Exactly.
We didn't hire this chief. But the officers collectively voted for Mike Solon. And I don't know if Mike Solon realizes that this is the way that the public perceives his actions. As the guild president, you know, whether it's a good action or a bad action, the public perceives it as he's representing the thoughts and the minds and the wants and the will of rank and file members of the Seattle Police Department. And it's not like that just in Seattle. In most departments across America, the union, you know, and that's why the union sits over here in the actual city, and the chief sits over there on another side.
Yeah, it is. This is why it's so important for people to understand the inner workings. Politics around this issue right now, this movement, what we're seeing, this kind of strain between regular folks and police is real. When we start to hear things like this, when Mike Solon has been, you know, this is not the first thing either. I think some folks have been able to follow him and been like, hey, he kind of leans toward this side. And it really does make people wonder how officers on the ground that they're going to encounter, how they're thinking about this. Because let's remember that there's general discourse that's created, and then there's general thought from that discourse. So these kinds of actions are really telling for the public. They really are.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, which was a bit troubling in this piece here by Como 4 News, is that Mike Solon said he wasn't worried about any kind of OPA complaints. I mean, that should be the biggest concern. I mean, that's almost, if you go to any restaurant, if you go to a local restaurant in Rooted today and someone's like, hey man, someone complained that the food was cold. And imagine someone being like, I don't care about any complaints. They don't bother me.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't know if they realize what's being projected out here to the everyday public. I don't understand Solon's stance. He's made it clear. He's like, hey, man, my concern is my officers, their well-being, their work conditions, and everything else. But he's also speaking on behalf of the rank and file that voted for him to be into office. So when he says that he doesn't care about OPA complaints, does that also mean that the majority of rank and file officers who elected him to that position as well don't care about complaints that go to OPA?
That is a very, very heavily weighted statement, honestly, for Mike Solon to make, especially at a time like this, when the tensions between police and the community that they are supposed to serve is at an all-time high. The one thing that folks are really looking for is to find ways to bridge the gaps. But when you hear things like that, people are like, oh, you're putting your stance up. Then, you know, clearly that is our recourse right now. Our recourse is, hey, I had an issue with an officer. I need to file a complaint. This officer was this or that, discriminatory, whatever it is, they want to be able to file a complaint. For someone like Mike Solon to say he doesn't care about that, that to me is a very weighted statement.
The other thing is that if you look at David's coverage, like I mentioned this the other day, he was out there talking about, hey man, you know, the media is not being bothered over here. The observers, the National Lawyer Guild observers, you know, they're over here. He wasn't. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's actually done pieces before profiling police and everything else. And you got to remember, David didn't start this issue. All that happened with him is he dropped his ID. Solon is the one. He could have called him, could have sent an email. Solon's the one who took this whole issue to Twitter and everything else, and really, like I said, it's made it seem very personal and petty, especially on the flip side where you have so many members of the media who didn't make anything petty or personal.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'll be honest, we got our ass whooped July 25th. Mm-hmm. The media got whooped July 25th. It's all on camera. But we came back to work the next day in a professional capacity, 100% in a professional capacity across all these different platforms that are out there. So anyways, we'll see how this plays out. But, you know, I mean, one thing I would say is, again, the president of the guild is elected by the majority of the officers. And so, I mean, it's hard for someone in the general public to think that whatever the president of the guild is saying is not representative of the majority of the officers in the Seattle Police Department.
Yeah, period, man. That's the way to go. I think that you're right to actually highlight this. Oh, and again, to share with the audience how the inner workings actually happen, because I think there's going to be now a growing sentiment about people saying, hey, doesn't even matter if I file a complaint. If they're not caring,
that's what he said.
Out?
The president
I mean,
of the guild said, he's not concerned about OPA complaints.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no other business, organization, or anything else when you're like, hey man, somebody has filed a complaint. Well, they're like, man, I'm not concerned about that.
So then do the officers feel that now they're protected? See, this is what I'm talking about. There's an insulation in the department. And now clearly Mike Solon is speaking to that insulation. This is what so many that are out there in the streets have been protesting against.
And again, like I said, this isn't, David never went public on it. David just thought he lost his ID and life was going on. Solon is the one who took this to Twitter. And so now all this blowback, I mean, this is something that he brought upon himself and he brought upon SPOG.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on, so the NFL last night, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans played in Kansas City, Missouri. And so what happened is that the NFL is trying to be woke these days. They're playing Lift Every Voice and Sing, which you guys hear at the end of every show here. And then they play the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. And so what happened yesterday is that the Texans stayed in the locker room for both. The Chiefs stayed on the field for both. And the Chiefs all stood up for the Lift Every Voice and Sing. And in the Star Spangled Banner, there was one player who took a knee. But once both anthems were done, both teams came on the field, and they all locked arms collectively in a show of unity and for equality. And the fans in Kansas City didn't take too kindly of this show of unity. Like I said, this was after the anthems, after everything else, people locked arms there, a show of unity. And we have a short clip here of the boos that they received on the field.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, you know, I believe that stadium fits about 65 or 70,000 people. There was only 16,000 people in there last night, so it wasn't a lot of people, but you could definitely hear the boos.
Wow. I mean, yeah, you know, there's clearly wide range. I say this all the time, a wide range of perspectives out there and a lot of ideals, you know, right? Some people are not with it. Some people are. I mean, this is something that we're going to see play out, I believe, over time. It was a show of unity.
So
you know, it's crazy.
People were booing, like, so Kaepernick, which is crazy as well. We talk about this with the Emerald. So it was Kaepernick, he was taking a knee during the national anthem. And, you know, people thought that was an outrageous protest and everything else until they see these protests.
Right.
But what J.J. Watts, star player for the Houston Texans, said, he was like, he didn't understand. He was like, man, this is the anthems, everything were over. We were locking arms and show of unity, and they're getting booed. So let's prepare ourselves for another interesting NFL season. Wow. I mean, NFL as a whole, over the last few years, so much is just the affinity around it has dropped off, and now with COVID and everything else, we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. I think there's been a real growing sentiment around the safety of the sport in general. So much has been now coming out in medical research around it. I think that you're right, and I think that we'll see how this plays out, man, for the rest of the season.
I mean, you could see in the players' faces, though, it was like, I mean, it was nasty. It was, you could just tell. Moving on, though, we said we're moving it forward today. So there's been a lot of fires that have been burning, and actually a few people arrested for fires in Washington and Oregon. And what officials are saying, if you could put this up here, Daryl, what officials are saying is they want to squash the rumors of far right and far left setting fires. So if you go to the internet right now, it's out there, right? So the far right are saying that Antifa is setting the fires. The far left is saying that the Proud Boys or several other groups are setting fires. And so it's like, I mean, man, you know, every year there's natural fires, right? Lightning strikes and things like that. Then there's accidental fires, like these people who were having a gender reveal party down in California and with a pyrotechnic, and now it's burnt up all this land there. And there's actual arson, where there are people who, you know, are setting fires. So these things happen every year. Right. Lightning strikes, accidental fires, and then arson. But this year, they're saying that, like, man, you know, the internet is undefeated, is that Antifa is lighting all the fires or the Proud Boys are lighting all the fires. And so what officials are saying is, like, man, don't be too quick to judge, share, or retweet any theories that they're coming across on social media.
Wow, I'm glad they're able to squash that, you know, because we need to be able to try to squash some of this, like, far right and far left, you know, discourse out there, man. It's growing rampant, if you ask me.
I think both sides should just go and work on putting out the fire.
Right.
you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, the internet is crazy. Believe it or not, you know, a lot of our stuff moves over social media, but, like, I try to stay off.
Right.
I try to depend upon the human network instead of the social network.
There we go.
Last thing here is Amazon. It says Amazon lets South Lake Union lease lapse in Seattle. You can throw that one up there, Daryl, if you have it. Amazon is saying that the office there on South Lake Union on Westlake, that it's 1,000 employees, that they're moving out of that building. 1.4% though of its Seattle office space. And just another sign. They said they're going to move them to other offices in their Puget Sound campus. It's based on business need, growth forecast, access to talent, and feedback on what locations are convenient for our employees. So, you know, most people before all this stuff, I mean, even well before COVID and everything, most people liked living in downtown Seattle. That's why they put so much investment living or working in downtown Seattle. Looks like Amazon is following through on a lot of what they were saying, that they're getting ready to reduce their footprint in Seattle as a whole and increase their footprint in outlying areas. We see that they're putting a big investment in Bellevue and some of the other cities around Puget Sound.
Wow, I mean, this is another something to follow, because if this is just the beginning, we'll see how this kind of, you know, plays out over time. But again, I think there's some people that might be doing some cheers and some people that might be doing some cheers. Again, it sucks because so many things have gotten seem politically charged right now.
But what people need to understand though too is they're like, so now at the same time you have Boeing with the Dreamliner talking about consolidating production down in South Carolina, right? Man, it's a big hit. They said 30,000 collective jobs out here. Amazon will see, you know, I mean, with Amazon moving out of Seattle, reducing their footprint into Seattle. You know, the thing is, a lot of their employees, because there's not really a lot of fulfillment centers in the municipality. They've got a few, but a lot of those employees, you know, high-paying jobs, things like that, they move out of Seattle. You know, they'll be fine wherever they go. But I think that when you have big business, no matter if you like the big business or don't like the big business, a lot of people that are hit on that are the ancillary jobs. You know, we just did this story on some of the business downtown, Paroshki, or different kinds of businesses that are impacted by, especially service industry, restaurant industry, and things like that. And that's whether you like Amazon or don't like Amazon. If they leave Seattle, then, you know, and if there's not a big rush in things, see, Amazon's basically been a leader for all these tech companies. Amazon set up, then you found everybody else kind of filtering in Seattle and making a presence there. So, you know, we'll see what happens. It's going to be a lot of empty office space in Seattle, and there's definitely going to be an impact. Now, depending on how people argue this, there's some people like, yeah, we're ready to see Amazon go, let Amazon leave. Okay, but now what's your plan? You know, so I mean, without a plan, you know, it's just like, yeah, we want somebody to do some. What's your plan? Like we talked about yesterday, where people talk about defund, and now, you know, what you were saying is King County Equity Now, decrim. Now here's your public safety plan.
Exactly.
Because just saying defund without having a plan for public safety is like, well, okay, well, how are you going to keep people safe? Right. And so just saying like, oh man, let's get rid of Amazon. All right, well what's your plan to now restore the lost revenues that might occur from that? So conversation continues to go on, but while people are talking, it looks like Amazon is really putting money where their mouth is.
Hey, there we go. We'll definitely keep following this. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it's not too much of a devastating impact on either end, you know?
And we'll see. All right, we're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we got the headlines with the South Seattle Emerald. You are watching the Morning Update Show.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, CashApp, or PayPal at Converge Media.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Well, there you go, Daryl. Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Earlier this morning, very early, by the way, I had a chance to catch up with Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald. We went over a few headlines nationally and locally, as well as we talked about Kaepernick and, you know, now we talked about here in this segment, EA, the gaming company that makes Madden, that for years removed Kaepernick's name from their theme song and removed him from the game. Now, because of Black Lives Matter, has restored Kaepernick to their video game and their name. But anyway, we'll play this clip right here. It's me and Mike Davis from the South Seattle Emerald. Good morning. I got my brother, Mike Davis from South Seattle Emerald on here. What's going on? How are you?
It's a lovely Friday, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right. I'm just staying inside, though. It's looking smoky out the window.
Our windows closed, too.
Man, it's serious business. So, again, Friday, that means it's time for headlines with the Emerald. We got 3 headlines here today. Let's jump right into them. First one is a national story. I guess it impacts everybody. It looks like President Donald Trump is not with the diversity training for federal employees.
Not at all. He's actually stepped in and stopped all diversity training for federal employees, calling them divisive and anti-American. It sounds like his administration is attacking critical race theory as a whole right now. And while this is a national story and affects the federal government employees, it also affects us in Seattle. The Department of Justice has recently reached out to the city of Seattle about 2 trainings that we had in June. One training was focused on white staff, and they talked about internalized racial superiority. And they had another training for staff of color that focused on internalized racial inferiority. The Department of Justice is citing Title VII of the Civil Rights Act and saying that you cannot discriminate on employees based on race. However, the director of the Office of Civil Rights has told the Seattle Times that these trainings were not mandatory. They were totally voluntary, and they all fall under the Race and Social Justice Initiative that Seattle has been at the forefront of for years now.
And what's going to be the end result of this? And if all diversity training, voluntary or involuntary, is removed, what's this look like a few years from now?
Man, it can look bad, I would say, for people of color. I think these trainings a lot of times are what show folks who don't understand how racism and white superiority affect our everyday lives. They show them what their own internal biases are. You don't really need to train staff of color on diversity and racial awareness because we live with these things every day. But the white folks in power who have the opportunity to hire people, these are the folks that really need to check their biases and understand that these doors need to be open to more people than just the people that look like them.
All right. On top of it, next up is local news, and it's something that a lot of people might not be aware of, but a program that's out there is called Pandemic EBT. Tell us all about it.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, today is the very last day. You have until 5 p.m. But if you are a parent or you have a child in your household that goes to a K-12 school in Washington and they receive free or reduced lunch, or their school offered free meals to all students before March, you qualify for Pandemic EBT. Now, if you already receive food benefits, you should have automatically got the extra EBT funds by July 7th. But if you didn't, you should definitely call or get online. Now, if you are not currently receiving food benefits, all you have to do is call the phone number, log on, enroll, and you will receive $399 a month per child. So this is a lot of money for food. So if you qualify, again, you have until 5 p.m. today to register.
All right, man, and it looks like Cap is back, or at least on the video game screen.
Yes. So this story jumped out at me because I saw a lot of the corporate accounts on social media lining up to give kudos to EA Sports and Madden for adding Colin Kaepernick to the Madden 21 video game. And I just want to highlight the fact that we can't keep giving corporations credit for doing the right thing once the right thing becomes easy. I mean, we saw the effects that George Floyd had. We had Black Lives Matter rallies in Salt Lake City, Utah. Like, the message has become loud. The social conscience has shifted. So now EA Sports decides to get on board after the last 4 years, not including him in any video games. And in Madden 18 and in Madden 19, they even scrubbed Colin Kaepernick's name from songs on their soundtrack. So while he was being blackballed from the NFL, EA Sports and Madden definitely stood with the establishment in the blackball. Now that our conscience has shifted, now they want to come back and they want to make money off of his name and his likeness now that it's convenient for them. So if you play the game, play the game. You want to run with Cap, run with Cap. But let's not give EA Sports or Madden a pat on the back for doing the right thing after 4 years of doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, and it seems like EA is probably not the only. I mean, clearly it's a unique situation with Cap, but there's a lot of businesses in corporate America who kind of know they've been on the wrong side of issues, and now they've changed their stance, and now they want a pat on the back.
Absolutely. And I would definitely say Nike is one of those companies as well. They did keep Cap, but they definitely kept quiet for years while he was being blackballed. And then out of the blue, they tried to step in and try to position themselves as standing with Cap, but they stood with everyone else when it was hard. When times are hard and Black Lives Matter was considered a divisive statement, we saw where these corporations stood. Now that the conscience is starting to shift, we can't forget who's who.
All right, Mike Davis, tell everybody how they can reach the South Seattle Emerald.
Find us, Google us, South Seattle Emerald. We're on Instagram. We are on Twitter. We're there.
All right. Have a safe weekend and stay out of that smoke.
I will. You too.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, CashApp, or PayPal at Converge Media. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trae Holiday. And you guys, I'm excited because every time we bring the one and only Bobby Stills onto the set, things heat up a little bit. What up, Bobby Stills?
Hi, I'm here on the Morning Update show. Usually I'm behind the camera. Hold on, let me come on camera on the Morning Update show. But I'm here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I heard you checked in with Bootleg Babes.
Yeah, we're trying to get, keep, it's almost the weekend, so, we want people to relax. And, we ran across an organization, a group of people that were out there, making cocktails for a cause. They're named Bootleg Babes. They do small batch cocktails that they deliver via Instagram. And all their proceeds, besides what they take out for gas and the cost of the products, a lot of the stuff is locally sourced out of their gardens and/or their friends' gardens. So we wanted to feature them and get your drink on for a good cause. So I'll let them go ahead and explain.
Amazing. Thank you. I'm glad you caught up with them, Bobby. Yeah. Let's show the audience DQ.
Babes, we came together because we were 4 out-of-work bartenders, and we were together on Juneteenth when our friends were doing a Fuel the Front Lines, like pop-up, giving free food to protesters and stuff like that, and we were helping out, and we were like, yo, how can we do this with booze, because we're bored, but also how can we do this and give back to the community, like with our limited skills. And so we develop Bootleg Babes. We make bomb-ass cocktails each week, and all of our proceeds go towards local BIPOC organizations within the community. And I want to stress again, like within the community. We're not donating to ACLU. We're not donating to nationwide funds because we want to support our community where we come from, where we live, where we hang out, where we patronize, and we want to know exactly where the money is going to. So we're super transparent. Each week we post receipts of our donations and a little information about the organizations that we donate to.
Weekly, we kind of come up with drink ideas based on what we know we can source affordably, easily. We get a bunch of bulk, big old things of liquor from Costco. A lot of our ingredients are from like our parents' backyards, or a friend just gave us a ton of basil and honey and all these kind of things. So we try to figure out with what we have, what we can make, and with lots of infusions, lots of just creativity. And then from there, we like have text streams for hours on end with just tons of names thrown back and forth. We've had Wet Hot American Bummer. We've had a WAP, Wine and Peaches. We've had Abolish the Pojito.
PB and Recall Jenny Durkin, which was also called Defund SPD's Nuts.
Shout out to Tobias. He's actually back to work as of yesterday, but he is the mastermind behind recipes, and he's here in spirit.
Find us on Instagram at bootleg.babes and add us. We are a private account. Let us know that you found us from Converge. We'll add you back. We post menus every Sunday for delivery on Friday and Saturday within the greater Seattle area. We do not charge for delivery. We just pay ourselves a little extra gas money.
Like all of the information will always be on Instagram. We post shit every week. We're going to try to do a pop-up one week soon where you pick them up instead of us deliver and see how that goes. So it's subject to change, but right now all the information is via Instagram. You order via Instagram, you pay via Venmo. We deliver to your address.
All right, so I want to thank the Bootleg Babes for allowing me into their space and spread a little bit give some information about how they're helping out in their own personal way. I really appreciate what they're doing because they're doing it. They're helping out in the way that, as being bartenders. They're doing what they do best, and they're giving back to the community. And so I really appreciate that. That's why I want to shed some light onto them. So yeah, go check out Bootleg. It's bootleg.babes on IG. They're good peeps.
Oh, the thing is too is that you just said it, Bobby. Like folks stepping up and doing what they can right now. That's what we need. So I'm glad that we were able to showcase that today for the audience. And there's a lot of people in there like, yeah, we like this. We like this Bootleg Babes.
I mean, everybody likes drinking. So I've been talking to somebody else. They got some fitness. How can you give back? What can you do to raise awareness with with fitness and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know?
I'll
So,
be working with the yoga posers group. They are doing the exact same thing where they have a class every Wednesday and they donate all the proceeds to nonprofits. So it's great that people are doing this.
I always want to stress one thing, and I keep saying this, and it's not what can we do? What can we do? It's like, what can I do as a person? Me, just one person. What can I do to change and help out the public and make somebody else's day? Just help one person out, but. What can you automatically do to make a difference in the world?
Aw, Bobby Stills, the Bobby Stills. Give it up for him, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
and
for
thank
having
you
me.
for, thanks for wrapping it up with them so that we can make sure we showcase what they got going on.
Yeah, we'll check back in with them and see how their growth, happens. And, they want to do more stuff and they want to do pop-ups and things like that. And it's for a cause and it's local. It's local. There's been some other people out there that are raising money. They're giving these national, Seattle needs help too.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, stay tuned. We're going to be right back. We're going to just take a quick break. DQ, do you have the break? We'll just take a quick break. We're going to come right back. We're going to end it the way we always do. You guys stay tuned. We'll be right back. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, CashApp, or PayPal at Converge Media. Welcome back, y'all, to the Morning Update Show. Trae Holiday.
Big old man, Bobby Stills always knows where to get it in, man.
Right. I'm glad he showed me because honestly, when you got a place that'll deliver, oh yeah, I'm gonna remember that when I'm in the Seattle city limits, man.
Yeah, I mean, and actually what we found too is because of COVID, they said that necessity is the mother of ingenuity. And we figured that, there's a lot of stuff that's been popping up and everything else. So Bootleg Babes, one of them. There's a lot of other people out there doing stuff. I think what Bobby said is that their proceeds go to local organizations.
Absolutely.
Which is cool about that. It's Friday. And at the beginning of the week, when we set up the schedule for this week, we were going to be outdoors every day because the weather looks so fantastic. And right now it's actually kind of chilly outside considering because of the thick smoke. But we want to remind people, and please take the environmental conditions seriously. Don't be outside if you don't have to, especially if you have any kind of pre-existing respiratory issues, if you have anything like asthma or whatever. We really got to take care of each other. We should have already been taking care of each other and looking out for each other, but what this presents is an opportunity. This smoke care presents an opportunity. If you haven't reached out to a loved one in a while, you got a great opportunity to do that today. Absolutely. Hey, I ain't talked to you in a minute. I see the smokes out there. I just want to see how you're doing. If you haven't talked to a friend in a minute, man, you know what I'm saying, there's a great opportunity. So no matter what, there's always an opportunity for something good. There's always an opportunity to reach out and connect with people. So maybe this smoke care is an opportunity to reconnect with someone and check on their health status.
Agreed, man. Let's be looking out for each other, as you said, and I think it's so important. Again, if you can, stay indoors. You know what I mean? Stay indoors and be healthy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Any program notes?
No programming notes. I mean, Chats with Trae won't be airing today. We're going to be back next week. Make sure that our producers get everything tightened for us. So yeah, I'm excited for that for next week.
All right, yeah. We got next week's gonna be a big week for us. We got a lot of good stuff there on the horizon. As usual, if something gets funky, we'll let you know. Again, want to thank our crew, Bobby Stills, DQG, and then also we've had Julia Jesse on set today as well. Big shout out to her. Welcome her to the Converge team. Yeah. I guess it's time to take a stand.
Time to do it.
Best thing is, it's our network. Ain't nobody gonna boo us.
There we go.
If they do, you booing your computer. Ain't nobody booing us on Kansas City Chiefs in Texas.
Man.
We ain't getting no boos out here. All right, man. Listen, have a wonderful weekend. Please take care of yourself. Let's take care of each other. And we'll see you Monday at 11 a.m.
Peace.
Peace.
Every voice and sing, dealer than heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.